Work breakdown structure is one of the key artifacts of project management. So we started with high-level description of the project. Then we got into detailed requirements collection, and from the requirements we define the scope of the project, and the next step is decomposing the scope into a work breakdown structure. Once the work breakdown structure is created, the next step is decomposing the work packages into activities and then sequencing those activities and then arriving at the schedule. So the sequence is detailed requirements collection, scope definition, then decomposing the scope into a work breakdown structure, then decomposing the work packages into activities, then activity sequencing, and then arriving at the schedule. As discussed, the scope gets decomposed into a work breakdown structure or WBS. It is a deliverable-oriented grouping of work. That means every work package, it delivers something. Does not show any sequence of work. A work breakdown structure only gives the breakup of work. It doesn't give any timelines. It doesn't give the dependencies like successor, predecessor dependencies. A WBS does not give. It just gives the breakup of project work. The lowest level in the WBS is known as a work package. So here if you see this WBS, here it is level 0, level 1. Under this level 1 there is no further work packages. It stops here. So this one becomes a work package. Whereas here under level 1 we have this level 2 and level 3 and this level 3. So these two level 3s are work packages. This level 2 is a work package. These two level 2s are work packages because there is nothing below that. The lowest level in a WBS we call as a work package because there is nothing below it. The decomposition stops at this level in a WBS. The work packages must be between 8 hours and 80 hours chunks of work. We call it as an 880 rule. When we really create a work breakdown structure, when we decompose the scope of the project into a work breakdown structure, we may not know where to stop or when to stop. And if we don't know that, then either we'll end up with lack of decomposition. That means we stop at a very high level, or we end up with too much decomposition. That means we get into minute level, activity level also we go into activity level, which is not required. So this 880 rule gives a guideline like the work packages can be between 8 hours and 80 hours chunks of work. For smaller project, the affinity of the work packages will be towards that 8 hours chunks of work, whereas for large projects, the affinity can be towards 80 hours also. When I say 8 hours, the work package it should not be decomposed beyond a day's work because that will be too micro. 80 hours means at least once in 10 days time I should be able to go and see the status of it. It must be either done or not done. because if the work package sizing is too big also, then the project will not show any deviation. So this work package sizing is very, very important. Small projects, smaller should be the work packages. Large projects, larger should be the work packages. And PMI has given a guideline like this, that is 880 rule, which states that work packages should be between 8 hours and 80 hours blocks of work or chunks of work. When I discussed with some of the hardcore project managers, they told me that for some projects even this 80 hours is too small because the scale of work is so high. So that's why we are saying this is a guideline or this is a thumb rule. If your project is an exceptionally big one, then you can deviate this 80 hours also, which is a decision by the project manager. Some of the key aspects of work packages: be unique. There can be only one work breakdown structure for each project. Projects should not have multiple work packages via multiple work breakdown structures. A work breakdown structure should contain all of the project work scope, that is 100% rule. Whatever is there in the scope document should be part of the work breakdown structure. Otherwise, when you create the final product, some of the scope will be missing. So the 100% scope of the project should be captured in the work breakdown structure, and it will be a common reference for both internal and or external project reporting. Without a work breakdown structure, this cost variance reports and all is impossible, and scope coverage, scope variance, the base of all this reporting is the work breakdown structure. And work breakdown structure can be shown in two formats, that is a tree structure or a list structure. So this is the tree structure. So at the topmost level, that is level 0, is a program. Then at level 1, two buildings are happening under that program, so building 1 and building 2. And at level 2, building 1 design, and level 3 architectural, structural and mechanical, and level 4 masonry, windows and doors, kind of a decomposition. By the time we reach level 3 or 4 or 5, by that time we will be hitting that 880 rule. So that becomes, so there we should stop. The same work breakdown structure is shown here in the form of a list structure. And for every work package there is a code, we call it as a WBS code. And there is a WBS element description. Here are the levels. Now for every work package, we need to provide some additional information for the person to do the work completely without error. We call it as a WBS dictionary. So it contains the WBS code, that means to which WBS it relates to, WBS element description, the date and the revision number, and the description of the work to be done, dependencies, successor, predecessor dependencies, the risk factors, assumptions, and the specifications and the quality standards to be followed, all can be part of the WBS dictionary. So we said after the detailed requirements collection, we define the scope, then the scope gets decomposed into a work breakdown structure. The lowest level in the work breakdown structure is the work packages. Work packages can be between 8 hours and 80 hours. We call it as 880 rule. And WBS can be shown either as a tree structure or as a list structure, and each work package is provided with additional information in a WBS dictionary so that the person who's really doing that work can do it because they are provided with sufficient details. Thank you.